All right, welcome to Buddy Book Club. I'm Dylan here with my crewmate who would never abandon me. Keith, what's up, buddy?
Never, kid. I'd go down with this ship. I'm a real captain.
I will go down with this ship. Sorry, my singing voice is way off because it's allergy season and they are plaguing me right now, these damn allergies. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, why does God hate us? I think we've stalked down God before.
Yeah, that might be
it's
why.
really applicable here because it's beautiful out. Like Cape Cod, we've been dealing with winter. It's terrible. Like, you live in a vacation community, which is wonderful except for the winter when it's just dreary and dismal and terrible.
A lot of heroin usage.
Yeah, that's true. It is a big heroin place. Thanks for the support. But then it gets beautiful. You want to go outside, and I'm just like, oh my God, I can't even function outside. Can't open the windows. Can't do anything. I'm back in winter. Whatever. I'm not here to gripe because here at the Buddy Book Club, we're breaking down some bestsellers, and this week we'll be discussing The Martian by Andy Weir, our third and final trip into the Weirverse. I think because he doesn't have any other books.
And I mean final.
Yeah, for sure. No, final. You're putting your space boot down.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, if you'd like to recommend a book for us to read or reach out to us about any past episodes, you can visit our website, buddybookclub.com, or slide into our DMs on Twitter or Instagram. The handle is Buddy Book Club Podcast. You can listen to us wherever you go for podcasts, so please download and subscribe. Keith, let's just jump into some stock up, stock down. Everyone's probably seen the movie. You got Matt Damon. Keith, stock up The Martian. What do you got?
Stock up Amazon.
Oh, the delivery service? Or the forest?
No, the delivery service. They want to do some ads, you know. We got some ad space to sell.
Yeah, I'd go off the cuff on some ad reads. It'd be great. I would be appropriate. I wouldn't swear. I'd stick to the copy for the most part. So yeah, hit me up, Bezos.
But they couldn't send, a couple of boxes of extra crispy Cheez-Its and some protein bars up to space? Like, what are we doing here?
Oh, you mean like on the resupply?
Yeah, the resupply. They're like, we only have like 3 months and like 50 people working overtime on this. What? Strap them to a fucking rocket and send it up there. What are we doing here? It didn't make any sense to me. I mean, we've literally been to space and landed people on the moon using a fucking TI-89 calculator.
Yeah.
Is NASA terrible? I mean, I'm going to get to this later, but are we like stock down NASA, stock down everything? We sent also in 1997, which is referenced in this book, a thing there then. You know how much more computing power and knowledge we have? This is supposed to take place in 2035. That's 38 years later. We can't just strap something to a rocket and send it up. We're literally sending crews on like years-long voyages into space on these ships. We can't just send up some food with nothing manned on it. It's embarrassing, honestly. I was shocked by that. Stock down NASA, stock up Amazon. If you give this to Jeffrey Bezos, he would have got it up there, kid. He'd have done 2-day delivery free of charge. That's the fact of the matter.
To Mars in 2 days. I'm glad that you stuffed the stock up and the stock down into one. And I do have a question for you. That TI-89 calculator that fueled the Apollo flights, did it have any of the wonderful games that we had on ours? I can remember
What was the drug one.
The drug one was so good, like a drug dealer game. So random, but so amazing. It was like, oh, you jack up the price. It was like, no one's buying anymore. It was a great way to learn economics, honestly.
It really was.
But there was like fall down. I remember that was big. There was baseball, but the baseball was super easy. But it was also a good just like social aspect because you'd get your calculator because you had to get it for like 7th grade math or whatever the case was. Maybe it was 9th grade. And you'd have to find the smart person who like already had the games so you could plug it in and pour it over. It was like trading Pokemon or something like that. So it was a nice little social thing where like the nerds were teaming up with the jocks and the drama kids because like everyone wanted to play. It was like, I'm not going to sit through math without playing. So it was just such a great idea.
I forgot about that. That's a good point. It did really bring everyone together.
My first stock up is, I've been doing this lately and honestly, if it comes to me, I'm going to do it. But the phrase, too many cooks in the kitchen spoil the broth. Because once NASA gets to communicate with Watney, they just start micromanaging. Straight micromanage vibes.
I hate it. Hated it.
And, maybe I'm going to get fired for this, but it's kind of like what we do with, and one of my experience has been in corporate America, where they're like, all right, when you're charging time to your clients, if you're in the shower thinking about work, that's work. So charge time to the clients. It's like, what? Like, I might be thinking about it, but more of like dreading the fact that I'm going to have to like start work. But NASA does that with the government's budget.
You have Brazzers as a client, by the way? I didn't know that.
NASA comes in and they're like, all right, we have to justify the billions of dollars the government's getting us. So let's just get 30 botanists to say that what Watney's already doing is good, or give him some very slight suggestions, like wake up 5 minutes earlier. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Like, Watney's got it. Mark Watney is a multi-talented man. He's already showed you that he can figure this shit out. Just give him a break. Leave him alone. All you're doing, this, and it goes for all micromanagers out there, all you're doing is, one, pissing people off, and two, making it so people can't do their work because they always have to communicate back to you with what's happening. Just give people some free reign. Let them do it. If they suck, you fire them. If Watney fails, he dies, but it's his fault. Simple as that. Easy peasy.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Yeah, get the micromanagers out of there. Let them just work. Let them cook, if you will.
Yeah, I would wonder how some philosophers would think about this problem in the sense of how much effort and manpower is going into saving Watney.
Oh yeah, there's so much money wasted. So
Yeah,
much.
like whether that money, how many more lives could be saved on Earth if that money was used differently.
Pure economics, yeah.
And I do appreciate, the tone of the book itself, which is, countries coming together and like humans inherently want to help each other, which you could argue that fact as well. But I would be interested in some like the old railroad, whatever, the train coming in. You can either save one person or save three people kind of thing. What do you do? Because it kind of is a philosophy argument in that sense. Because I personally, if I was watching all this shit, I'd be the pessimistic person or whatever. Like, yeah, you spend all his money, he's probably even going to die anyways. Like, go feed people that are hungry.
Also, at the end of the book, he's like reflecting. He's like, yeah, then they spent hundreds of millions on me. I'm like, whoa, millions? Try with a B.
Yeah.
First of all, inflation in 2035 is high, but just taking off on that spaceship or whatever that was on Mars planted there, that is hundreds of millions right there. That's how much that cost to create that. Probably more than that.
Granted, his knowledge of the stuff that he learned on Mars would be useful for sure, but it set back the industry because of all the stuff they're using. I personally think Mark Watney came home and like after a year, serious alcohol problem, like maybe into some substances, with the survivor's guilt, just because he survived, but at what cost?
Well, it's usually survivor's guilt when everyone else doesn't survive, though.
Yeah, well, I'm flipping it on its head. It's when he survives. And also, then he's probably thinking, I have to now do some miraculous shit because they spent all these billions of dollars.
So just stay at home and do nothing. Yeah.
And so because he's all that pressure, he just decides to hit the bottle like extra heavy. Maybe goes down to Cape Cod, starts getting into heroin.
Well, this kind of ties right into what I was going to bring up in the intro. But you could either do a year and a half worth of eating potatoes plain and doing science homework, or pop a little of that morphine, watch some TV, maybe some painkillers thrown in there. I'm like, yeah, give me that for a strong month and die. Yeah, that sounds better to me. I don't know. Too much, too dark.
No, I'd go all in a bit. I'm going to survive. This is amazing. I got this whole potato thing planned. 1 week later, I'm morphine addict.
I'm so bored.
I am morphine addict. I'm like, fuck this.
Just a little drip, just to start,
I'm watching Three's Company, disco on in the background.
God, yeah.
Oh, I would have a disco party with all these drugs. The fact that he wasn't taking more drugs was concerning to me.
He took a sleeping pill and he was like, oh, I woke up a little late the next day, not taking that again. I'm like, what else do you have to do, bro? Like, I'd be popping those like they're Advil.
Yeah, painkillers just melting into the couch on the hab, like smoking
We're not
space
drug
rock.
addicts, if those are listening.
No, I'm saying in this survival situation. I mean, there's a reason why in Vietnam, 15% of American GIs were on heroin. It was terrible there, and they said, this is a way to get out of it. Watney, what are you doing? Step it up. What else did you ever stock up?
Kind of in line. Being a coward, stock up.
Okay.
Seemingly, everyone calls Teddy a coward. I think the one female character that's in there, that's like the PR person, which every one of Andy Weir's book has a cool female who swears and talks about sex openly. It's like, I always feel very uncomfortable because it just seems so out of place. Why would the PR person who's supposed to be like all buttoned up be like, "Fuck you, you huge pussy"? Like what? I don't get why are these people talking like this in a business setting? It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. But yeah, she calls him a huge pussy right to his face in a big meeting. The head of NASA, mind you. Don't worry about that. And why is he a huge pussy? Because he basically was like, oh, I want these 5 astronauts who are coming home to live. I don't want to risk their lives by literally swinging them around the Earth, having to catch something, and if it doesn't catch the right timing, they die, which we've never practiced before, never done any tests on them, sending them all the way back, which the ship is not built for. There's like a billion variables that they've never tested that they're going to now throw into this mix and risk 5 astronauts' lives for it. Which, well, what's the probability of that working? Probably pretty low. And we literally just saw Teddy launch something and compromise by saying, we're going to scrap all the preparation, scrap all these testing because it's a 1 in 40 chance it fails. We just saw that fail. So why would he go around and turn around and then say, well, let's take something that's much lower probability of succeeding and use the same logic, but with 5 astronauts' lives at risk to do that? Why was everyone getting mad at him? I was like, no, I would never do that. And then the last thing is like, they're like, it's the astronauts' decision. They should decide. Well, why don't you ask Watney then? Use the exact same logic. Do you think Watney, like, hey, Watney, we're going to risk 5 astronauts' lives that we haven't practiced or done anything for this. Send them to go save your life. Are you okay with that? He would say no if he was a good person. It's Watney's choice just as much, if anything. I like Teddy. He's a good guy.
I did as well. Yeah. He was also the one that did like the secret, sent them like the JPEG that had the secret message in it, right?
No. That was the guy that called him a coward.
Right, the other guy.
So you like that guy? I don't like that guy. What happens if he sends that JPEG and then their ship blows up on the way to Mars?
Yeah, no, I get it. I'm just a fan of mutiny. I just like the idea of mutinies. So I appreciate that.
Stock up mutiny.
There's just too much buttoned up people following protocol. It's just nice to see someone in $1 billion company that's like, fuck it, I'm just going to throw shit to the wind. My next stock up was potatoes. And I know you said that eating potatoes is shit, but I mean, hey, they're like the bubblegum shrimp of the root vegetable world. I mean, you got baked potatoes, you got mashed potatoes, you got potato salad, scalloped potatoes, roast potatoes, crispy potatoes, french fries, Hasselback potatoes, pierogies, hash browns, gnocchi. The list goes on and on and on. Oh, vodka, of course. Yeah, sorry. I'm surprised Wadney didn't even discuss that. He's like, how can I ferment these? And like, I wonder what vodka and morphine does together, because this could be a party. Or he'd be like, hey, I could take this painkiller and feel it. Or I could take this half a painkiller with some vodka and get a year's worth of painkillers going on.
String it out for much longer. That's smart.
Plus all these varieties, I mean, all the different things you can make, then you get a different factorial if you consider in all the different potato varieties. I know he only has one type of potato out there, but maybe like the poop bacteria evolves them somewhat. Who knows how it works. But honestly, if you're stuck with one vegetable for a few years, it's not a bad choice. It may be the best choice, really. I can't think of anything else that would be as versatile. And I know you're going to say all the commenters, because there's so many of you guys, will be like,
yeah,
oh, he doesn't have oil to fry stuff in. Like, he doesn't have ways to make pierogies. What's going to stuff the pierogies with? Hash browns.
That's what NASA should be working on.
Yes, this is what I'm saying. This is what NASA should be doing. Be like, hey, die in peace, die happy with some delicious potato things. We'll send them to you. No one's coming to save you, but we'll give you some fry oil. You already know how to make fire. Fry up some french fries, have some morphine, and let that hab explode on you. Be great. My last one was just having a side hustle. So whether it be a booming podcast like the Buddy Book Club, or writing a book on your blog in a serialized fashion, which is what Andy Weir was doing because no one was interested in his story. He was doing it for shits and gigs, and the next thing you know, publishing rights are being bought for $100,000, and then shortly thereafter it's getting made into a movie with Ridley Scott directing, Matt Damon at the helm. I mean, come on. His normal gig, I think he was like a program engineer, computer science guy, but good for him. He was doing his normal day job, which he probably hated just like everyone else does, and decided he was more passionate about this side hustle, but it wasn't making any money, so he said, I'm just going to throw it out there to the world for free. And even afterwards, once people were like, hey, can we get a book version of this, he did it for the people. He released like a Kindle version on Amazon or whatever for $1, which is like the lowest amount you can offer it for. He was just doing it for the people. Like, hey, this is fun for me. Like, I'm enjoying that you guys are enjoying it, just like we do here at the BBC. We don't ask for anything besides like some communication. We're sending beacons out there like to Mars, hoping for somebody to write back. Little validation wouldn't hurt here and there. What do you ever stock down?
Stock down Suicide Pact.
Wait, what?
Suicide pacts are kind of cool. It's a cool thing. So I mean,
Can you
I'm
explain
selling it
a
at a high.
suicide pact? Maybe I'm just dumb. Is that when you agree to kill yourself?
Yeah, everyone agrees to go in and kill themselves.
Oh, okay.
It's a pact.
Yeah.
Suicide pact.
Okay.
In this book, and you might have missed it because it's so casually mentioned, but on the slingshot, they have to slingshot around the Earth. If they are not able to acquire the China space rocket that they're adapting
the
last second to shoot up, because that seems like a much more realistic plan than just sending food with Jeffrey Bezos. But if they're not able to acquire that means the food would run out too quickly, so that there's an immediate suicide pact. They all have to kill themselves with suicide pills.
Oh, so that the woman can eat them, right?
Yeah, and it's dropped in there quickly so that they can eat their dead bodies. That is the plan. That's what we came up with. They all agreed that let's turn the ship around, and if we fuck up this one thing, we all kill ourselves immediately. We just spent a year and a half with NASA working with Mark Watney to figure out how to survive. And they're literally, the first thing is, let's just kill each other. Let's immediately kill each other. I don't even know if they have morphine on the thing, which I can agree with if they're all just going to go on a huge trip to end their
just
lives.
Face each other with something sharp. Like, all right, on three. Stab on three. 1, 2, 3.
We have a whole book on their solution to survive, and they just casually drop, we'll just kill each other. That's fine. It's whatever. And then they don't really even get into the whole science of if you're taking a suicide pill to poison yourself and kill yourself, then it goes bad, right? You can't eat a poisonous thing or you'll be poisoned yourself. Like, this is simple 101 cannibalism stuff that me and you would talk about.
Yeah,
it's obvious,
for sure.
But they're not, at NASA are idiots. They're not even thinking about this.
They also say that the animal is scared or something like that. It, releases cortisol and stuff. It doesn't necessarily poison stuff, but it taints the meat, so it's not as delicious.
Right.
So it'd almost be fun in this situation to have more of like an Assassins type game. Like, remember that game you played in high school with like water guns?
Yeah, where you killed your friends?
Exactly. But it'd be like on the ship. Well, you got to be entertained. If you're all going to die anyways, like, you might as well be entertained for the trip back. And also maybe so it wouldn't scare them. So it's like, all right, we have to kill each other for real. But, we don't know when. Everyone gets a different name. It's really exciting. They could have made it a little more creative. Had some fun with it.
From Magic podcast we did with Andy Weir, Magic said, you just take a bunch of morphine and you strap out into space and you just let the oxygen take you. It freezes your body, preserves the meat, and you had a nice fucking trip to end your life. I think that's the easiest way to do it, right? Then bring that body back in, you chop it up, put it in the freezer, find the filet mignon, you go to town on that. You just, thanks a lot.
Human backstrap. I thought Watney's death plan was pretty solid, which was the nitrous oxide one, because they explained it in the book scientifically, which must be fun to research. You probably get flagged for a bunch of government websites.
Yeah.
But the idea being that your body lack of oxygen, it doesn't know that necessarily. It's really just like a buildup of carbon dioxide or something. So if you just take a bunch of nitrous oxide, you just kind of like have a good time and then pass out and suffocate.
Yeah.
But it's not like terrible, like drowning or something like that.
Which is weird why we don't do that, like instead of the lethal injection and, all the other ways we cruelly kill people.
Yeah, there must be a better way, right?
Like electric chair, it seems like the worst possible way to like kill someone.
Give me a firing squad. That makes more sense, at least.
Yeah, well, the only problem with firing squad is you gotta hope that the one person that has the bullet actually is sharpshooter. Because if they hit you in like the neck and you're just like, like that'd be pretty brutal.
I'm very badly burned. My only stock down is, I guess, disco. I mean, it's talked about negatively enough that I'm convinced it's terrible, even though, honestly, I really enjoy disco. I think disco is a fun
give me a disco song. I didn't really know what is disco music? I don't even know what that means.
You don't know what disco is?
I'm thinking of Macho Man. What's your top disco song? I'm like trying to think of what disco is.
So I'm thinking ABBA. They're like very disco-y.
Oh, you gotta sing it.
Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Sing me a song.
Magic. Speaking of Magic, his mom's favorite song, September. September. That's
disco?
Yeah, that's
Disco's
disco.
Great.
Dancing Queen. Le Freak by Chic. Oh, Le Freak. That song.
Okay. Yeah. That party's really coming together that we were talking about.
Boogie Wonderland, great song. Boogie woogie woogie, and I just can't boogie no more. That like this. Hot
We got our
stuff,
clips now.
hot stuff. Like disco's great, especially on painkillers. Mark Watney, like you should be. What are you doing? No, just kidding. Just kidding about that part. It seemed weird that there was a lot of humor around him shitting on disco, and I know it was like he was joking but serious. If I was stuck with some music, disco would not be in my bottom 5. I'm wondering what would be. Maybe like death metal.
I think country would be awful.
I love country music. Like I hate to love it.
Oh, I like country too, but I like country in a certain mood. If I'm like on a deserted ice planet that there's no chance of survival, I don't want to hear like sitting on my back porch enjoying a beer with my dog.
Yeah. There is a lot of talk about like red dirt riding, you know, with country music.
Oh, okay.
Which is what he was doing.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Okay, so you throw that on when you're like driving.
Yeah, there is some like
But
rambling.
That's good feels though. It's still country's good feels, which is I need some negative darkness as I escape into my heroin, my morphine trip.
You want the death metal. That's like the last thing I
of course. It's like, slit your wrist.
You're taking like Rob Zombie and Slipknot and stuff like that. Plus, it's like for headbanging and like getting in a crowd and fucking shit up. So you don't really want to be fucking shit up when you're in the hab.
Well, that's what they would play when they're doing the Suicide Pact. I also don't understand. They're like, we're only allowed a certain amount of media. It's like, it's 2035. You know how much 100 terabytes of RAM costs? It's like $100. It's like our memory. Like you could put every piece of media you ever wanted into a thing by then. Like you're gonna have plenty of space to put whatever
honestly,
it's not like I only have techno. That's all I can do.
The way things are progressing and how much smaller storage space is, it just would make like exactly like you said. You could have a terabyte of data, which is a shitload for if you're talking just music. You could have everything. You could have anything you wanted. What are you guys talking about here? You're not stuck with disco. Like everybody can have everything. They also didn't talk about the pornography aspect, but I'm sure there was a little bit of that. Watney didn't want to say because he's telling what all this stuff he's stealing from other people, but in his, it was just a terabyte of porn. That was it. All I know is, how do you think Watney sealed the hap? With his terabyte of data. That's for sure.
Stirred but fair.
Yeah. One hot rope after another. Do you have any other stock downs?
Last one, and this is more just like hate, straight up. Science, stock down. I just don't care, honestly, anymore. And this is really why I don't ever want to read one of these books. I just don't care. It's honestly, the way the book is written is it's like someone that's super, super into chess playing by themselves, explaining what moves they would do against themselves. Like that's what the whole book is. I get it. Like the first half where he was explaining stuff, I thought it was actually interesting. When we get to the second half, we do the exact same thing and there's no more like talking back with NASA and all that stuff gets cut and it's just science. I'm like, yo, I don't care at all. Imagine if we're watching or reading Armageddon, the great movie Armageddon, which is all scientifically accurate, obviously. Imagine like Bruce Willis and Benny Affleck were just during the drilling scene just talking about angles and drilling, necessities instead of just being like, Harry, trust me this one time, The movie would have been awful. No one wants to hear this stuff. We get that you're into it, and I think it's valid where like you sprinkle it in, but if it's just that the whole time, I just like had it in the background at the end of the book because I just didn't care anymore. I was like, this is so stupid.
Yeah.
And I had this again in my hates, but literally the worst part of the book is that we spend 8 of the 10 hours talking about realistic science, and then we end the book with them planting bombs on the ship and shooting off into space and doing all these like incredibly dumb, impractical things in this book that's supposed to be set in this realism of science. It's like, what kind of book is this? Like, why'd you just spend 8 hours telling me all these, like, why you do this stuff based on science, and then just the end being like, well, fuck it, let's just do whatever the fuck we want, and it'll be funny for the ending of the book. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I was listening to this book mostly because it's spring here, like I said. I was listening to this book mostly as I was dethatching my lawn, which basically is just raking my lawn, but like in very small sections. And I had broken it based on like how many pickets in the fence, right? So like there's 8-foot sections of the fence. So as he's doing this, I'm like doing the same mental calc because it's like hard work. It's terrible. And I'm listening to this, which is like kind of the same thing. And so I was like breaking it up scientifically. Like, okay, it takes me 1 hour to do this one section. There's 24 sections. This is going to take me 24 hours to do as he was doing it. And since you started this, I'm going to get into my only love and my only hate. My love was just that it had moments. And I think specifically, like you said at the beginning, okay, how's he going to figure this out? And the science aspect there was more of like planning stuff. And it was, oh, okay, like I see that angle. Like this is interesting. Okay, I get it. Nice. Dig that part. That was fun. I did also, you didn't like the end. I liked the ending because it was more theatrical and fun. So it got away from the like practical science and more into like, let's just do some crazy shit and hope it works. Iron Man. Yes, I'm totally down. Let's do that idea. But the middle, that's my hate. Because hearing someone explain what they're doing in a play-by-play format for 11 hours honestly was terrible. And after listening to this, though, I feel like I'm ready for when I have kids and you have to sit at youth soccer game for 2 hours next to the white New Balance and Jort dad explaining his lawnmower issues. He's like, yeah, my lawnmower won't start. I checked the spark plugs. They look properly gapped, so I thought it might be the air filter. I couldn't find a new one for my model, so I cleaned out the old one. Still no luck. I did leave it over the winter with old gas in it, so I added some fuel stabilizer. Since I was tinkering, I decided to balance and sharpen the blades. Turns out, fuel stabilizer did the trick. Bad boy fired right up. What types of grass do you like to grow in the Northeast? I think Kentucky bluegrass is actually quite good for a zone 6 climate. It's like,
that's amazing.
I don't,
that was amazing.
That's my Will Wheaton impression.
That was perfect, Will Wheaton. Oh my God.
It was like that for 11 hours. It was just so, it was like sciencey thing. Oh, it worked. Awesome. Red. More disco.
Yay.
Whoa, disco sucks. It's like, oh my God. Fucking A. So yeah, first 2 hours I was into it. The middle part, I was like, get me out of Watney's head. It was like, get me out of his head. I enjoyed when we go back to NASA to at least hear something different. To at least hear a different idea.
I like that.
But get me out of Watney's head. It didn't need to be 11 hours. And I'm sure there is a demo of people out there who loved this.
It's that dad. That New Balance dad.
That New Balance dad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good God. So what'd you love?
I think you already mentioned. The beginning was fun. There was certainly parts that were good. And that's why it makes a great movie, is because it is a really well thought out, outside the box idea.
Yeah, very well researched.
I wish, how they sell unabridged. I wish I had the abridged version, and I would have been like, this is pretty good.
Yes.
Just
cut his soliloquies in half, and I'm probably in.
Yeah. I had a question for you. This is part of love, but not really. But is there anything you think in actual science that would draw the attention that seemingly Mark Watney drew, where like the whole world is watching him and there's a daily watch segment on CNN? Do you think there's anything that actually draw the interest like that?
Outside of this, like you're saying someone getting lost on Mars, but you know what's going on?
Oh, I mean, even that, I don't think people would care. I think they'd be like, oh yeah, the guy's up there and we're working on it. It's like, all right, cool.
I don't know.
Like, didn't they announce aliens are real, and people are like, whatever.
Yeah, the UFO stuff.
Yeah, nobody even cared. That wasn't even a big story. It was just like, whatever.
They had the Panama Papers, which was like all of this data of people putting money in offshore funds, like people and companies putting money in offshore funds, like tax evasion stuff. People didn't even care. There's just too much going on right now in mindless entertainment, in real entertainment, in everything, that I couldn't imagine the whole world stopping.
And this is the third trip to Mars, too. This wasn't the first either, which would be like, okay, we're over this.
I think if there was an Armageddon type situation, that would...
Oh, yeah, of course. But that's not science. That's world ending. That's not like, we landed on a new planet, maybe,
No, but that's what I'm saying, is it'd be all of the trips to go to the asteroid to blow it up, or to land people on it,
so
to try to break it in half.
You're basically saying the only way we'd be interested
is if Ben Affleck and Bruce Willis went into space and tried to blow up an asteroid. Yes.
We can only send drillers, kid.
Yeah.
We're not sending astronauts.
We cannot teach astronauts to drill. That doesn't make any sense. So that was your love. What about hate?
So I actually wanted to do some research, and I was like, how big is Mars? It seems like he's driving around everywhere. I'm like, that'd be pretty tough to do. I went on the official NASA site, and I looked it up, and it says Mars is 2,106 miles, which is half the size of the Earth.
Okay.
And then they use this great comparison. If Earth were the size of a nickel, Mars would be about as big as a raspberry. What the fuck? That's on the official site of how to compare them.
What? Raspberries come in all shapes and sizes. I mean, I know
That's
there's
the
probably a
worst
medium
analogy I've ever heard. First of all, you didn't even keep it in the same food group.
No.
You weren't like, this is the size of a grape. This is the size of a, I have no, it was so befuddling to me. Oh, this is who writes the book. Like people can't use an analogy that makes any sense.
Yeah, like your grape analogy.
Yeah, well, all right, let me restate it then and make it a clementine versus a grape. That would make sense, right? You understand the two sizes of those.
Yeah, relatively. Yeah.
They're in a fruit parent,
Yeah.
right? Or if you
Yeah.
said a quarter and a nickel, you'd make sense.
Yeah.
But a nickel and a raspberry don't make any sense. First of all, a raspberry is actually a sphere. A nickel is not a sphere. We're not two-dimensional.
And to me, I think a nickel and a raspberry are about the same size.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. So I didn't get it either. So anyways, science stock down. So.
Interstellar did it better.
So just I'm gonna hate order of the book. Why was the beginning part just like in the middle of the book? I didn't get that. The movie did it much better, where they actually just did it in sequential order, which made sense. And then at the end of the book, he just like adds random journal stuff. Get me done with this book. I almost quit it out. I was like, I've gone this long. I'll finish it. But this is so stupid.
I was in the shower during that part. So
Still doing your client research. Wink, wink.
yeah, exactly. So I paused the browsers and said, you know what? I should finish. I should finish this.
And then you also should finish the
book. Yeah, exactly. I should finish to Mark Watney talking about what he liked to eat in space.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just said, you know what? It's like 20 minutes left. This is going to be like the top 10 worst showers of my life, but I have to finish this book. So I was with you there. I didn't need an appendix. I was good. What else do you hate?
The problem, again, with these abandoned island or solo people by themselves is they don't really make great books, in my opinion. They make better movies because the movies you can literally visually see what's going on and what's happening to them. Whereas the book, I just was like, okay, he's like, yes, this worked. Well, there's 8 hours of the book left, so something's going to go wrong. And now I'm just like, all right, I guess I gotta wait for that to kind of just boring otherwise, it doesn't come together. Yeah. So that's why, like, when there was back and forth in politics within NASA and all the stuff that was going on there and them communicating, and that was at least more entertaining because there's something going on.
The storm was like this huge thing. It was like, oh, the storm's going to really fuck him up. Like, I'm excited for the storm to happen. He was like, I put a probe in 6 mile radius around me and guessed where the weather was going, and I drove around it. It's like, all right.
Yeah, okay.
Good for you, bro. Nice one. Yeah, I do think there's probably some, Matthew McConaughey probably enjoyed parts of it for like having to like pee in your vehicle, considering he has that funnel in his car that he pees out of, pooping in a bucket. That stuff's kind of fun. If you haven't had to poo or pee while driving, like stuck in traffic.
Poo, really? Oh, good for you.
Sometimes nature calls, nature calls and I answer. So things have happened, but I appreciate that stuff. Although I feel like there might be some like vomit situations going on with all the rough terrain. Who knows? Maybe took some of those Dramamine pills that I'm sure they had. Beck had in his case. Did you have any other hates?
The characters and like the 2 sentences we got on background story about them, which I was like, why even include this? This is stupid. Yeah. It was like, yeah, and like you should tell that girl you like her on the ship. I'm like, who the fuck are these people? I don't even know who they are. Like, why would I care? And this person is like devoutly Catholic and has kids. Okay, what does that matter? Who gives a shit?
And you can't picture them because I think Andy Weir said he didn't include like descriptions really of the characters, like what they look like, because it like didn't matter to the story. And neither did any of the other stuff about them. So
not one part. No, there's nothing that mattered in any way.
They could have been robots for all that
they
mattered.
really could have.
Although like Commander Lewis, I thought was the most fleshed out of any of them.
Yeah,
and maybe just because she likes disco, but. But, that aspect of it.
But the letter back to her husband was like, and then I found this disco thing that no one else can find. Like, oh, I bet it was the like version 3 collection, right? It's like, yeah, the original one. Okay.
Nerd alert.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you recommend The Martian, Keith?
No, I'm done with these books. Yeah. I'm done with them.
If you had to give one, The Martian, Artemis, or Project Hail Mary, what would you say?
Probably Project Hail Mary. I mean, I think the alien stuff was cool with that, at least. It was more science that wasn't even real, where they just made something up in that and then did science around the made up thing for the whole book.
My ranking would go Project Hail Mary, The Martian, and then Artemis. Artemis was just...
Which really more says how bad Artemis
Yeah,
is.
exactly. Artemis was just terrible.
Well, he does have a cool female lead who swears and does sex jokes.
Exactly. I wouldn't recommend the Martian either. It's just so weird because there was a period in time where everyone was reading this book. You know, which is kind of the reason why I wanted to do it. I was like,
It's also a Reddit favorite.
Artemis was terrible. Project Hail Mary was better. So The Martian must be good because everyone loved it. And especially, I couldn't imagine reading this book. Like Will Wheaton reading it to me was not that great. But imagine reading, like actually putting your eyes to a page and reading all of this explanation stuff. My eyes would roll back in my head and I'd just be drooling. Like it would be terrible. I'd go into a coma.
And I thought I thought he did a good job.
Bad boy fired right up.
But that's how it's written, though. I mean, he's doing exactly the voice that's how it's written.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, well, that was The Martian. I hope you didn't read the book, but listened to the pod, because we definitely had some fun here with that. What's coming up next for us?
Heir to the Empire by Timothy Zahn.
Wait, what is it called? Heir to the Empire?
Heir? Is it
Heir. Yeah, it's Heir.
Heir. I'm not French, kid. I'm American. Heir to the Crown, Heir to the Empire by Timothy Zahn. It's basically supposed to be what should have been episode 7.
Well, that's what the internet says.
Yeah, well.
It's
written. It has Luke and Leia in it. So
yeah,
it's written like episode 7.
Luke, Leia, and Han are the main characters.
Heir to the Empire is Timothy Zahn.
Yeah, I pronounce it Heir to the Empire, like most people, but hair works. And you can find the rest of our archive of episodes on our website, buddybookclub.com.
Love it.
All right, so that was The Martian, and we'll catch you guys next time. Bye now.
All right, bye now.